me, you've probably seen Dehancer all over your TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube at some point. At first, I was like, yo, this looks insanely cool, but two major things held me back from actually trying it out. One, I saw the price, but we'll get to that later. And two, I only really saw like professionals using it, you know, people who knew exactly what they were doing, which is like the complete opposite of me. You know, I'm not some like expert colorist or anything like that. So I just kind of assumed it was something that I wouldn't know how to use or like handle. That wasn't until I saw some friends on Instagram using it. Big shout out to Matt and Films by Taylor. When I saw their work, it inspired me. You know, as a beginner, I figured, why not just reach out to Dehancer and see if they'll let me test it out. Luckily, they said yes and gave me access in exchange for a brutally honest review. Now, however, if this is your first time hearing about Dehancer, Dehancer is pretty much a film emulation plugin that lets you take your digital footage and make it look like real film. You know, it's got tools like grain, halation, bloom, and I'm pretty sure it's over like 60 film stocks to choose from. So in this video, I'm pretty much just breaking down how a beginner like myself uses Dehancer, you know, what my workflow looks like, and just my personal pros and cons for this plugin. Now, normally the first thing I do as soon as I put the plugin on, after I do the whole, you know, color, space transformation, whatnot, I go straight to the film profiles and I kind of see which one I want to go with. Lately, I've really been liking the way Portrait 800's been looking, but for this one, I think I'm gonna go, let's see, let's go with Kodak Gold 200. So see here, the slider, you can push or pull it. I kind of like the way it looks, slightly pulled. So here is that print part of the plugin. Sometimes I don't use this, but sometimes I do. It really depends on what I'm going for. So I'm gonna just kind of go and see which one I like most with my footage. Just adjust the exposure and contrast a little bit. Turn the color density up more for a little bit more pop in the colors without kind of oversaturating it. There we go. You really can see it in his ear. You can kind of see the pink in his ear a lot more versus if I have this lower. Now, me personally, I like a more subtle grain look. The grain look in Dehancer looks really amazing. That's actually one of my pros on Dehancer. The grain feature is amazing. You know, it doesn't just look like thrown on top like a filter. It's like actually generated grain for your footage specifically, which is insane. I did already shoot this with the diffusion filter on, but I'm gonna go a little extra, you know, throw some more on top, but a bit more subtle, not too over the top. Now, this is a feature I don't really see people talk about or really use, but I love the way the film damage looks. Here's that gate weave and film breadth. They even got you covered if you want to go with some overscans, you know, that classic you can see here. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of using these unless like the idea calls for it, and like I really want to run home with the whole idea like a film emulation. But me personally, I kind of don't really use these that much, but they do have a very nice fully customizable feature for the overscans if that's what you're into. Their vignette feature I really love as well. So the way I normally use it is I'll turn the feathering all the way off so I can really adjust and see where that is. Just sort of adjust where that's going, feather this up some more. There we are. Look at that. They even have a really nice film breadth and gate weave, and basically what it does to my knowledge is sort of adds that like imperfections that film cameras have. What it is, you know, the colors will slightly shift a little bit. It won't be like perfectly still and quote unquote perfect like a digital camera. You know, it kind of has that slight jitter, a little bit of movement. I'm not the biggest fan of it while using Dehancer, but of course if the idea I'm working on calls for it, I will absolutely love to use it. I'm honestly pretty happy with the way we have our first clip. You see that subtle halation on his arm and on his cheek. So with film compression, I really like it, especially for like super sunny or like highlight heavy footage. I notice it kind of softens out the highlights a little bit, kind of like on actual film. Like instead of it being so harsh on the side of his face right here, I slap it on, it's more of a softer highlight overall. You can adjust that as well if you want to. So here you see the impact. If I bring it up more, the highlight's a bit more softer. Bring it down, it's a bit more harsh. Got a little bit of color boost here in the film developer. And honestly, this looks great to me. Time to get the second clip going. Since the first look that we went for was more of a warm, dreamy, nostalgic kind of filmic look, this next one's gonna be a more stylized, black and white film emulation, just to kind of show two completely different sides of what Dehancer can do. And there's a lot more styles and looks you can do, but these are the two that I'm kind of choosing to go for this video. This one here wasn't that different. After my color space transformation, I just found a film profile I was really liking. I actually really like the look of, I don't even know how to pronounce it. I think it's like Svima or Svima. It was a very unique looking black and white to me, but I just really like the way it handles the highlights and exposure and the kind of amount of contrast you can get with it without it looking flat. And honestly, after that, it was just a matter of slight tweaks. After using the print and then the film developer feature, I feel like what really brought this look together was the vignette. I feel like that just tied the look in extremely well. And then after that, I just rinse and repeat on the next 2 clips, and this is what I got. So the first pro has definitely got to be the fact that Dehancer is literally an all-in-one plugin. It has everything you need to emulate film. You know, you don't have to run around and use multiple different plugins, have a bunch of different assets like grain overlays and bloom effects. You know, it's an all-in-one package, which comes in handy if you are trying to emulate film. Now the second pro, I feel like Dehancer has one of the best grain, halation, and bloom I've ever seen in a plugin. And the reason I say it is because the grain doesn't look just like an overlay or like a filter you just put over your footage. And I got curious as to why that is, and I looked it up and kind of did some research, and their grain is applied in 3 different exposure zones: the shadows, midtones, and highlights, which means it pretty much just mimics how actual film reacts to light. But basically they went really hard on making the best grain effect you could possibly have. Same thing with the halation. You know, I've seen a lot of other film emulation and plugins and effects to emulate film, and I feel like their grain and halation is always very either really strong or not strong enough. And the same type of dedication that went to the grain effect went to the halation effect as well. It's just really impressive, and I feel like that's a big pro for Dehancer. The third pro is 100% how user-friendly Dehancer is. You know, as a beginner, it's very nice to use a plugin or an effect and you see exactly what it does and how easy it is to adjust the settings. Whereas I've seen some film emulations and different plugins where it's like there's like hundreds of nodes and you have to like do very specific things to tweak the settings and adjust the look and get it to look exactly how you want it. You know, I feel like Dehancer wins in terms of user friendliness, and just everything is, you see what it is, you see how to change it, and you see what it does. The final pro is definitely going to be the versatility and customization. You know, there's over 60 film stocks to choose from, and when it comes to nailing a certain look or like a film emulation, the versatility is there. And I just feel like that's pretty valuable, you know, in a color grading plugin. You know, you want to be able to customize and change everything. It's easier to achieve when there's less restrictions, and I feel like Dehancer does a good job of not restricting you and letting you fully customize whatever you want. Now for the cons, I think the biggest one is obvious. I think it's definitely the price. You know, it's a bit of an investment. It's definitely pricey, and you know, it would make sense why a lot of people wouldn't run to just go ahead and pay 400 something bucks for a plugin. While I do believe that it is worth it, I can definitely understand why, you know, someone wouldn't buy it because of the price. You know, I was even in that same boat as well initially. However, if you do want to buy it, Dehancer hooked us up with a 10% off code, so I'll put that in the description. If you want to buy it and need 10% off, I got you. Cons number 2 and 3, they kind of go hand in hand, but it's that sometimes the Rec 709 conversion or the color space transformation within Dehancer, it's a little bit off. It'll just like put this weird tint on my footage, and of course this could be user error. What I usually do is I'll just end up doing my own color space transformation, then just edit it like that. And like I said, it could be user error, but sometimes it's hit or miss. Sometimes it looks great and there's no issues, and then there's other times where there's like this weird tint on my footage and I have to really tweak it, or just completely do my own color space transformation and then work around it like that. With all that being said though, I definitely think the pros outweigh the cons, and if you're thinking about trying Dehancer out, I definitely think you should. Before I sign off, I just want to say thank you guys for watching this video, and also a big thanks to Dehancer for even letting me make a video like this and for letting me just try the plugin out in general. And I got a video coming out soon because Dehancer also has an app they let me use as well. Here's a little sneak peek of what I've been doing with the app lately. Mainly some pictures, but I have a whole video coming soon on how to do film emulation on the go, so definitely keep a lookout for that. Other than that though, that's all I got for you guys today. Have a good one. Peace.